There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you? Welcome back to our Super Mega Explosion 200th episode, an episode so big we had to cut it into 4 episodes. But we're going to get back to Batman right now. I know it seems like Batman goes on forever, but no. Batman can't go on forever. Or can he?
The facts.
We can't stop there because we have Batman Forever.
The movie feels like it does go on forever.
So almost everybody jumped in mid-ship. Tim Burton said, yeah, I'll produce this, but I ain't going to direct it. And Michael Keaton says, hey, I've got my real estate, so see you later, bye. And he actually would only have done it if Burton had come back because he liked working with Burton. But poll question, we actually had a couple votes for this one. Poll question. This was Jamie Kleinert's first choice. She explained, quote, Val Kilmer. Because dollar show bargains in the late 90s, my own high schooler level of emotional capacity at the time, and the kick-ass for the time soundtrack, end quote. Well, thanks, Jamie. And if she's a musician/music teacher herself, I'll definitely take that. I would have taken it anyway, but she has extra knowledge. Val Coons, where have I heard that? Oh, well. She sneaks back in with, quote, and maybe the Val Kilmer one. I like the campy versions when they don't take it so seriously. I will say, I did like the set design of the Michael Keaton ones. To be completely honest, I stopped watching Caring years ago. This character has been done way too many times. Oh, guess she won't be listening. I haven't seen Lego Batman, but I want to. The rest of them... Wait, does that mean a negative vote for all the rest?
I guess.
Thanks, Val. Trivia. Budget. $100 million. Still going up.
Yeah.
Oddly, the take went up with it, which explains Batman and Robin. The take was $336 million.
Oh.
Villains are not necessarily buddies. Apparently, Carrey and Jones did not get along, partially because Jones had no problem telling Carrey that he hated Carrey and his films. Well,
ooh, ouch.
Villainous indeed. So, who was really the main choice for the Riddler? As you may remember, Robin Williams was used in a bait-and-switch scam to get Jack Nicholson to play the Joker, so while they wanted him, he wasn't gonna. Second choice, take a wild guess.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
You're not entirely off. Yes, you are.
Batman, I'm gonna take you out and you're gonna...
Yeah, the second choice...
Actually, that would have worked. I would have loved to see Bobcat Goldthwait as the Riddler.
This game, Crusader! The second choice apparently was Mickey Dolenz for the Riddler.
Oh, wow. I think you could have done the voice, but all right.
Sure.
Sure,
As
why
I
not?
said, where's Keaton? He's not interested as he didn't like where Joel Schumacher was taking the Batman-chise. New word. Enjoy. Batman-chise.
Don't ever say that again.
Batman-chise. Damned kids. A stuntman drove the Batmobile except for one scene, which Chris O'Donnell insisted he do himself, when Robin takes it for a joyride. And yes, he did have an accident where he rammed into a curb and dented the fender.
Oh, okay. Of course he did.
Yeah. Why did Tommy Lee Jones take this role? Because his son's favorite Batman character was Two-Face.
His son should get help.
Who was Bob Kane's favorite as Batman Bruce Wayne? Why, Val Kilmer, of course.
Really?
Yeah. To be fair, he died, I think, a year after this film came out, so he would never see George Clooney or Christian Bale or whatever. The original idea for this film was that of a prequel, and that would be based on Frank Miller's Batman Year One. They would instead use this as the basis, more or less, for Batman Begins and sorta kinda in The Batman. And more, but we're not even halfway done, so let's get to the plot. Batman is back, but blonde, and he faces two arch-nemeses, Two-Face, who is decidedly not Billy D. Williams, and the Riddler, when they team up to use a mind box that sucks information out of Gotham City's residents and use the infamous Red Triangle Gang to steal things. Batman has his hands full, but he has help. The help of Robin.
The film.
Yeah, so did you see this when it came out? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And, well, Schumacher actually, to be fair, as a director, starts us off and lets us know right from the start what kind of movie this is going to be. because it's goofy from frame one.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten this because I haven't seen it since 1990, whatever. Nicole Kidman's in this film.
That's right, as Dr. Chase Meridian.
I wanted you so much to say Dr. Acula. Yeah.
No, Chase Meridian.
Yeah.
A psychiatrist who was obsessed with Batman.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
isn't
even
it?
mind that so much. I don't know why she's here, but
No.
okay.
Yeah, she doesn't really do very much except get put in danger.
Yeah, well, there is that. At least we have two damsels in distress, and one of them's Robin.
Yeah. Chris O'Donnell. Oh, dear.
Did you see? Okay, I want to come back to him. But
Okay.
do you remember seeing this when it came out, and you don't remember
I do.
liking it?
I do not. I did not like it. I liked Jim Carrey because I was very into Jim Carrey at that point.
Yeah.
I thought he was fun as the Riddler. Remember watching Tommy Lee Jones and going, "This is a complete waste of Tommy Lee Jones." And by the way, where's Billy D. Williams? Did they just go, "Well, I need another"? It was an actor with 3 names. Same thing.
Yeah. I remember liking one thing about this film. It is the first time, and as far as I know, the only time in Batman's history where the character finally gets over the death of his parents. And he actually says, you know what? I'm Batman because I choose to be, not because I have to be. And it feels like he's actually made some progress, which
I
will
forgot
disappear.
that. That's
Yeah.
just blown enough of the plot for me. Okay.
I really liked that. It's like you've actually done something no one's done in 60 plus years of Batman. You've made him progress. That being said, I rewatched it for the show. Max, did you rewatch it for the show?
I did not.
Good for you. I would like everyone out there to give Max a round of applause because he is
Thank
way
you.
smarter
Thank
than
you.
I am. It is just dumb. It is so dumb. This time they've redesigned Gotham for the 3rd time, although this time it has the Statue of Liberty in it, so I guess it's New York.
Yeah, although traditionally in the comics, Metropolis was basically New York and Gotham was supposed to be Chicago.
Yeah.
Even though Gotham was a nickname for New York.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you think about Chicago, Chicago has much more of. Well, that's not even fair, because it has all the history with the underworld
With the mob,
and stuff. But so does New York.
So does New York. No, Chicago always has sort of, in literary backgrounds, has more of a darker, grittier, more criminal background, even if it doesn't.
Yeah. One thing, though, we luckily get in this film, because at this point it's really important to do this. We get Batman's origin again.
Thank goodness, yeah, because gosh, we sure wouldn't remember the pearls falling or my parents are dead.
Yeah, well, I wish we had that, but we don't. Yeah. No, this is the 3rd Batman film in a row where we get the origin of Batman. So let's go to the performances as best you can recall, Max. We have Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Who proves that he can be as dull as Michael Keaton if he tries really, really hard.
I think he had a little more charisma I think he was a little more appealing. And he has that Val Kilmer, just the hint of a smirk going on.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is kind of silly, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they give him nothing to do. I remember that very clearly.
This is a weird bit of trivia. Apparently he accepted the role when he was literally in a bat cave because he was doing research for his role in the Ghost and the I can't remember.
And the Ghost in the Darkness.
Ghost in the Darkness, right? Yeah. He was in Africa, and he got the call, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it," and he didn't know what he was doing.
Oh dear.
And apparently he doesn't regret the film. He's like, "Yeah, it's fine." Apparently Schumacher regrets him. He appreciates his performance, but was basically, "I'm never going to work with him again." And
well, he's supposed to be he was supposed to be a little difficult.
Yeah, I think one of the problems we have, and we see this with Keaton, is there's no dual nature to Batman. He's as dull with the cape as without it. There's nothing there.
He doesn't even do. It's funny. Neither him nor Keaton do the thing that even the Batman in the serials did, which was play Bruce Wayne as a different person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm so lazy and fussy. Oh. And this is just like, hi, I'm Batman. Hi, I'm Bruce Wayne. Okay.
Yes. Oh, Dr. Chase, you're pretty.
Hi, I'm into you, and I'm into you when I'm wearing this silly hat.
Yeah, and I said the chemistry between Kilmer and Kidman is nearly non-existent.
Yeah, there really is not much there.
Nicole Kidman's fine. It's a dumb role.
It's a bad role. She really tries.
I don't think she embarrasses herself. It's just she is capable of so much more.
She can be so much better. She does kind of rock that black bodysuit, but other than that, no, she doesn't have. She has nothing to do. And then there's Chris O'Donnell.
Well, I want to come back to him.
You want to
I want to go to
Chris?
Tommy Lee Jones first.
Okay, again, Tommy Lee Jones is a terrific actor. I really like him. I think he's completely wasted in this. And it's a shame because Two-Face is a fascinating character. He's a really, in the comics and in a lot of other, even in the animated series, which we're getting to, he's a psychologically fascinating character. He's like a dark version of Batman. He's the whole idea of a two-natured person taken to the extreme. And in this, it's like, well, half my room is chaotic and half my room is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I talk about myself in the first person plural.
And it looks like I do not understand the makeup choice for this. He looks like he literally leaned against a pink wall.
Yeah,
like,
the makeup is awful. It looks literally like he's wearing half a mask. He doesn't look like he's been scarred.
No.
He looks like something left over from the Beetlejuice set.
Well, and the division down his face is so razor perfect that it's like, well, this couldn't have happened naturally. So,
no.
And they have a little origin of him in the courtroom, and it's like, oh no, acid, whatever. You don't care. Honestly, he's one of the actors in this that I think is overplaying it. He overacts horribly. Now, to be fair, if I were pitted up against Jim Carrey, I don't know what else I would do to try.
Yeah, you can't do subtle. You wouldn't show up on screen. But I talk about, again, waste. You know, he has those two henchwomen, Sugar and Spice.
Yeah. That's
Drew Barrymore and Debbie Mazur.
I mean, I sat there and blinked and was like, is that Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing nothing. She has nothing to do.
Nothing.
You've got Chase Meridian. She's supposed to be talking about the dichotomy of people's, and she doesn't do anything with Two-Face.
Nothing. You'd think he would be like a case study by himself.
Oh, no, she likes Batman better. Oh, whatever. The half suits, oh my God, it's just awful. He's not interesting. He's just a clown, and he's not a very, very good one. Jim Carrey. So we wanted Robin Williams. I think we're lucky we didn't get him, because as much as we get of Jim Carrey, we would have gotten more of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And that's whether you like Robin Williams or not. Again, Max really likes Robin Williams. I like the roles where he stretches himself more. The ones where he's just crazy and nuts, I just see that too many times. But he showed he actually has a dramatic side to him and did some really interesting roles later in his career. This would not have been one of them. And I got to say, Jim Carrey, oh my God, turn it down. He feels like the poor man's Robin Williams at this point. It
does feel like he's trying to do Robin Williams. And Frank Gorshin was over the top too, but Frank Gorshin had that sudden burst of quiet intensity. Yeah. And Jim Carrey can't pull that off. He tries it a couple of times and it doesn't work.
And to me, he actually makes me appreciate Frank Gorshin even more, because Frank Gorshin, again, had that thing where he would just be really studious and his eyes would bug out and he'd go really slowly and he just like thinking, or he'd just get lost in thought, and then he would just go nuts.
Then he'd explode.
It was just fun, but it was never too much. And Carrey is just over the top all the time. And his origin is he works for Wayne Co. or whatever, and Bruce Wayne is basically wandering through, talking to his employees, and Edward Nygma, get it? Butts in and says, you have to look at my new idea. And to be fair, Bruce Wayne's going, okay, let's hear what you have to say, Edward. And he goes on about this contraption that beams stuff directly into people's heads. And Bruce comes back with basically, what about the idea of you taking stuff out of people's heads? It's like, well, no. He's like, but you have to give me an answer, Bruce, right now. And Bruce is like, if I have to answer now, the answer is no.
It's perfectly reasonable. The ethical questions about this thing are staggering.
Which the Riddler will prove.
Yes.
And so he gets mad at Bruce Wayne because he didn't immediately see what a genius he was. And now I'm going to become a supervillain and hate Bruce Wayne. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, to be fair, people have gone on rampages for similar type things, but It really felt like we need to get this out of the way. So what's the first thing we got? That, okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, they could have made that more interesting, and they didn't. It just was too quick. The part I liked was he feels so betrayed because he's created this narrative in his head that he and Bruce Wayne are kindred spirits and Bruce would understand him. And as it is true, a psychotic, if they run into something that challenges their fantasy, they react badly.
Yeah. That could have been, especially when we have a psychiatrist in the cast.
Yeah.
But that could have been interesting, but it's not. It's just goofy. And then because you keep wanting to come back to him, let's talk about Chris O'Donnell. Because I have this feeling we're not going to agree. Chris O'Donnell. Max, what do you think about Chris O'Donnell?
I kept forgetting he's in the movie.
He doesn't have a lot to do.
He doesn't, and I don't find him particularly interesting. I think he was nice looking. He could do his delivery was adequate, but I found him completely forgettable.
Well, and here's the thing, having rewatched the film, there's actually a lot more chemistry between him and Val Kilmer than there is between Val Kilmer and Kidman.
I have seen him play Robin recently. When we get to Batman, the next one, Batman and Robin, I just watched that recently, and he still doesn't impress me.
Well, and the part is, there's way too much going on, just like the last one. We've got two villains, and we're introducing this psychiatrist character who's just for the movie.
And we're adding Robin.
Yeah, and it's just too much. We need to stop adding things. The thing is there is a dynamic when Bruce Wayne first takes Dick Grayson in because he feels bad because he was not really responsible for the death of Dick Grayson's parents, but feels he was because it's all echoing back to his, blah, 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 blah. There's a real push and pull between the two of them because basically Bruce is trying to come at to Dick with this, hey, I've been there, I know what you're going through kind of thing. I just can't tell you I'm Batman. I'll just wait for Alfred to tell you.
Because that's what Alfred does.
Well, he doesn't.
In three of the four movies, actually in all of the movies, practically, he says, hey, guess what? You want to know his secret identity? Come on with me.
No, he doesn't. What happens is there's a door that Dick Grayson's like, what's behind the door? And Alfred says, it's just a silver closet. Now run along. So, of course, he's instantly like, I wonder what's behind the door. And the next time Alfred goes in, he literally gymnastics his way in, slides on the floor through the door that's just about to close, and, of course, goes through the trapdoor, ends up in the Batcave. But there's this dynamic between Bruce and Dick where he's like, I understand what you're going through. If you'll listen to me, I can help you through it. And Dick is just young and impulsive and says, up yours, old man, and takes off with the car. And this is where we get, it's the car. The chicks dig the car. And he's out there pretending he's Batman and stuff, just like he would be. And I'm going to actually say I think it's the writing. And the writing in this film is terrible. The directing's not going to write the writing. But there's a tiny little glimmer of something that could have been interesting. And the only place it exists is between those two. I am not saying it's good. And a lot of people were like, why has Robin got an earring? And why are the cod pieces so big?
And why are there nipples on the suit?
Yeah, although they won't be as obvious as they will be in the next film. Again, I don't think this film in any way reflects its time. We're in the mid-'90s at this point, something like that. Sure, does this fit into the Batman comic oeuvre? I guess, if you tilt your head sideways. I don't think it's a particularly good representation again.
It also, I don't think, respects it. Even the joke of when Robin says, holy rusted metal. Yeah. A little throwback to this. It's like that, and then it's like, what? Look, it's full of holes and it's rusted. It's like, okay, that was uncalled for.
It's one of those things that's meant to be cute and just rips you right out of the film. Does not work.
Yeah.
I am actually quite amazed that the film did as well as it did. My feeling is that a lot of it probably had to do with Nicole Kidman and Val Kilmer. Because there's not really anything for me to recommend the rest of this film.
Well, Jim Carrey was a big star at that point. He was probably a draw.
I will say that the plot of beaming old Bugs Bunny cartoons directly into people's heads, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then we get to the death traps.
Whatever.
Anyway, we have one more to do in this series. And then Max gets to talk again.
The facts.
Batman and Robin.
Oh, boy.
Poll question. We had an answer for this.
Poll question.
Brian Mundo surprised me here. This is his favorite. He
Wow.
stated, quote, "Oh, the one with Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze. It was so campy and cartoony and fun," end quote. I can't argue the campy and cartoony.
Yeah.
Thank
Look
you,
at that.
Budget. It's another guess. Somewhere between 125 and 160 million.
Wow.
And finally, we come to the end with a take of just 238. That, dear listeners, is not a success.
Nope.
And good. Even director Joel Schumacher apologized for this movie, saying that the WB was forcing him to make a more, quote, toyetic, end quote, film. For obvious
Toyetic.
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, merchandisable.
Though I'm sure the offer is now void, apparently George Clooney used to refund people who'd paid to see this movie. He was also quoted as saying on the last day of filming, quote, "I think we just killed the series," end quote.
And he was right. Good for
Yes,
you,
he
George.
was. Yeah. The poor performance of this movie is what tanked Tim Burton's interesting take on Superman, called Superman Lives, which was going to star Nicolas Cage as
Stop
Superman.
the kryptonite!
And hey, take a look online. There's actually some footage and some stuff, and it's like, that would have been nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been bat beep crazy. Not a single bat was hurt in the making of this film, as it was
Oh,
the
good.
only one of the series to not actually have live bats in it. So there. No villains were hurt either. Unlike the other Batman movies in this series, none of the villains actually die here. They just get
Oh, that's
shrunk or
right.
head to Arkham Asylum. That way, there's toys. If you squint real hard and pay close attention, you might just recognize Corey Haim as one of the biker gang members just over the 1 hour mark.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Secret identity. This is the only of this series of films in which no one learns the identity of the Caped Crusader.
Except for Batgirl.
Well, but none of the villains.
Okay.
And again, we could go on and on and on, but we already have. Plot. Batman and Robin and Batgirl team up against Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy.
And Bane.
Wild! Who will come out on top? Who will outact who? And wait, is that a third actor to play Batman? What the hell is going on? Gah! Bat nipples!
The film.
So once again, Max, you saw this when it came out, or did you? Were you smart
I
enough
did.
to...
No,
Okay.
I went and saw it.
And does your head shake back and forth to this day because of this movie? I'm Batman.
I still can't feel the left side of my face because of this movie.
Do you remember your reaction at the time?
Yeah, I remember thinking, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, wow, you guys just gave up.
Well, Max, my estimation of you has always been high, and I hope you do not disappoint. Did you watch this again for this show?
Yes, I did. You know that because I watched it with you.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yep.
Oh, well. Max is a trooper.
Yeah.
That's all I will say.
Yeah.
Max is a trooper.
Wow.
Like the last film, the opening of this film, which is a dress-up scene, literally sets the tone for everything. They zoom in on the nipples, they zoom in on the butts, they zoom in on the thighs. Yeah. I wrote everything in this movie sucks from the first flicker.
Yeah, I said, and we start right away with the goofiness.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Mr. Freeze's visual design is actually kind of interesting until he starts talking.
Well, at least we go back to the origins, the German Mr. Freeze,
Yeah,
although
sure.
the first Mr. Freeze in the 66 Batman show was George Sands, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And then Otto friggin' Preminger.
Wild!
the genius director, the guy who directed Spartacus, is friggin' Mr. Freeze in the TV show.
I think actually Spartacus was directed by the guy who did 2001, which was
That was not Kubrick.
Kubrick.
No. It was
Spartacus?
I think it was... No, sorry, that's right. Those were both Dalton Trumbo. What was he doing? Yeah, well, whatever. He was a major director.
Yes.
And also in the movie Sunset Boulevard.
Yes.
But, yes, we had the Governor here in...
Sure. Honestly, at this point, why the hell not?
And by the way, I have to point out, you are wrong, Winky Breath. There is one villain is actually killed.
But not by Batman.
No, not by Batman. And that is John Glover, for some reason, is in this as Dr. Jason Woodrue, who hardcore comic book nerds will recognize as the Floronic Man. Even though he isn't the Floronic Man. In this, he is just an evil scientist, and Poison Ivy kills him.
And he's not even Crispin Glover's father, so there.
No, he should be, but he is not.
That would be Martin Glover.
Yeah.
I said
Could have been Danny Glover, but yes.
No relation. I said that this made the 1966 movie look restrained and refined.
Yeah, that it really does. There's a kind of elegance to the 66, because this, oh, good Lord, ice skates popping out of the bottom of their boots. They're fighting bad guys with hockey sticks. Ice puns everywhere. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Or the best one, Adam and Evil.
Oh, Lord. Oh, and poor Uma Thurman, who I like. I think Uma Thurman can do some really good work. She's doing a bad Mae West impression in this. And she starts off, at times she's trying to do, it's like, hi, I'm going to do the Selena Kyle. Look, I'm frumpy because my hair's messy and I'm wearing glasses. And then she turns into Uma Thurman.
So, doing the research, I left this out of the trivia. She loved doing the film. She still thinks it's one of the best times she ever had on a set.
Believe it. She's having a good time.
Pity the audience isn't.
No, she is just like, I'm having a blast. I don't care if anyone's enjoying it, and no one was.
Yeah. Did you notice what they injected into Bane, what they actually called the stuff? I was amazed.
Isn't it called Venom?
No. It's called the Super Soldier Serum.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. So apparently you don't get Captain America after all.
And
but
he didn't
whatever.
throw a mighty shield or anything.
Or lunch.
Talk about the unbelievable fisting that character gets. Because he does. Bane is actually a really interesting character. He's a tactical genius. He's incredibly smart. He's articulate. I don't know why he wears a luchador mask, except it's part of his cultural background. I think he's either he's Mexican or he's Colombian. No, I think he's Mexican.
Yeah, and I remember that his name is in the film, and it is Hispanic. I just don't remember what it is.
Yeah, and he's the one who actually breaks Batman's back. He's a major character, and in this he's just like Hulk smash.
Yeah, I said he's even stupid for Bane. Bane, as you said, is actually supposed to be a very intelligent strategist. I never liked the Bane character, but that's fine. Honestly, I thought this film overall looked like the Croft Super Show with more money.
Yeah, it kind of was. Sid and Marty Krofft with a budget. That's what they would come up with.
And the only way I can explain this film is a bunch of very top name actors lost a very big bet.
They must have been playing cards or something, or somebody got really drunk and I signed what?
Yeah, and I get to say this because I can. This is easily to date the gayest Batman movie.
How so?
Well, come on. The close-ups of the bat
long,
butts,
lingering
the bat
shots
nipples.
Yeah.
Oh, it is gay. It is just gayer than gay. And apparently, so is Joel Schumacher.
Yeah. I mean, Poison Ivy is kind of playing it a little like a drag queen.
Sure. Apparently, George Clooney does a really good impersonation of Joel Schumacher on the set. I saw him on a bit on Graham Norton, which was, everybody in your places. It's like, okay.
Dear.
That explains a lot.
And
we get cartoon sound effects here.
Yes, we do.
Boy.
We get boing, thonk, all that. We get the Bat credit card. Don't leave home. I never leave home without it. Which I guess is like, is that supposed to be a callback to the first movie with?
Well, Max, what's its expiration date?
Never.
Forever.
Oh, forever. Excuse me.
Just like the last movie. Get it?
Yeah.
Get it? This is a painful film.
It is.
For all the people who say they don't like the 1966 film because it's too goofy and it's not the real Batman, I challenge you to find this film better than that. Because it's not. It's way worse.
I will say one thing. Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance a couple of times actually has some real emotion to it.
When he's dealing with his wife?
He's dealing with his wife, and when he finds out that Poison Ivy tricked him, into thinking Batman killed his wife, and his wife still... That scream, there's real feeling in there. He has, like, most of it's just absurd and his usual, no, I'm doing bad, I spawns with the bat and the cars and the rockets and the fantastic things. But once in a while, a little bit creeps out, like when he's just looking at her. And it's kind of worse that way. It's like, oh, you could have made this character interesting, which they do in another incarnation that we'll talk about. But yeah, there's nothing. Other than that, there's nothing. I mean, the plot doesn't make sense. I noticed you didn't really try to summarize it. Please don't. The fact my suit is powered by diamond-powered lasers that keep me cool. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
I did summarize the plot, but like this film, it was forgettable.
And why is Dr. Isley trying to breed an orchid and a snake? Does she know how biology works?
Well, when a snake and a flower love each other very, very much, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is just awful. And Alicia Silverstone is in this movie. Okay, so moving on.
To be fair, I don't really know her from anything.
I know her from Clueless, where she's adorable.
Okay.
And she does a really nice job, but talk about given nothing to do. She and Chris O'Donnell are just sort of like, hi, we're here.
Well, they bicker.
They bicker. I guess they're supposed to have chemistry. They don't.
No. This film, I don't think represents its time at all, either again, mid-90s. Nope. I don't feel 90s.
No, this felt like a throwback. This felt like they were trying to go back. They were trying to do a 60s movie, and no, this is a way... Okay, it's funny. It is very unintentionally funny. The problem is it's too long for one of those it's so bad it's good movies. Parts of it are hilarious. I still crack up when they're in Mr. Freeze's hideout and he is conducting his thugs singing the Snow Miser song from The Year Without a Santa Claus. That's funny. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit anything else, but it's funny.
I want to say, too, that besides the fact that, to me, this does not represent any particular era of the Batman comic that I can think of, even the goofy stuff in the 50s and 60s, we, throughout this series, have dealt less and less and less with the title character, to the point in this film where we don't deal with Batman as a character at all. There's sort of kind of a love interest, but it's
not really. He's
dating somebody. I forget her name.
Oh yeah, he was dating. Who was it? Was it Claudia?
I don't care.
Yeah, some actual supermodel who we're supposed to believe they're dating, and
sure, yeah. He has to deal with the kids. Okay, fine, whatever. Bat Dad. Jen. But
seriously, look up Bat Dad on YouTube.
By all means, Bat Dad's awesome. There just does not seem like they've totally lost the idea that they're adapting anything.
Yeah, this is just silly.
Toyetic, yeah. So this is meant to be for toys. We're selling things. All it sold me on was not wanting to watch another Batman movie. So that's the four connected
the
films.
4 80s and 90s spawn of Burton.
Where do we go from here, Max?
Well, we leave the big screen and go to the small screen with one brief stopover on the big screen. We go back to 1991, Batman the Animated Series.
It's a cartoon. How good could that be?
We have a couple of poll question answers for that.
We do.
Poll question.
Yes, Matt Reisman, when asked what's his favorite Batman, he says Kevin Conroy. It counts because Mask of the Phantasm got a theatrical release, which we'll get to. Conroy's Batman was still human and still heroic, even if he was largely serious. Batman going too dark, too broody, makes him a parody of himself, and it's just not enjoyable to watch. Conroy's Batman was far more well-rounded compared to any other, and I think it benefited from being able to develop and hone the character in the animated series before the movie was released. Ned, a.k.a. Cheeseboy, says, for his favorite, it's the animated Batman. I'm sorry. The closest live-action versions are Sigh, the Tim Burton version, and Robert Pattinson. I thought was cute. The Dark Knight movies are fine, but they're more important for superhero movies and cinema overall than they are for Batman as a character. That's an interesting take. So, Batman the Animated Series ran from 1991 to 1995, 85 episodes. Went through some pretty serious changes. Fox started, or Warner Brothers, whoever it was, started shoving their hand in there pretty hard. It was very heavily influenced by both Tim Burton's Batman films and by the Superman cartoons from Fleischer Studios in the 40s. It was created and designed by Eric Radomski, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, bunch of guys, and, of course, the great voice director Andrea Romano. If you have seen any superhero cartoon show and thought, wow, that's great voice casting, I guarantee you that's Andrea Romano.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
There is so much to talk about this, but most of what I have is trivia. It's harder to do because this is a series, 85 episodes. Kevin Conroy is the first animated Batman and one of the few Batman in general to use two different voices for Batman and Bruce Wayne. He intentionally, he doesn't do the voice alteration thing that Affleck does, and he pitches his voice differently. When he's Bruce Wayne, he's talking sort of higher pitched, a little lighter, and then when he's Batman, he's down here, deeper voice, very impressive. Robin was not terribly interested in this. I don't even remember who voiced him. It was nobody impressive. That was one of the problems that the studio had. They said, we got to have more Robin. We want to get the kids. Every episode, it's like, is Robin in this? No, put him in it. That's why, like, by second season, they started calling it The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Ugh.
This show gave us not just an iconic look. For a lot of people, the look of this show defined Batman for a long time. It gave us two very popular original characters who made it from the show into the comic book. And you're going to say Harvey Bullock, but no, Harvey Bullock actually was already in the comic book. They fleshed him out. They made him more interesting. But it was two women, Renee Montoya, one of the Gotham City PD, who would go on in the comic book to become the Question, the replacement Question, and Batwoman's girlfriend, and Dr. Harleen Quinzel, better known as Harley Quinn, who was supposed to be a one-off character, who was just supposed to show up once. People friggin' loved her. One of the best known voice casting in this show, of course, was Mark Hamill as the Joker. He was not the first choice. It was going to be Tim Curry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There are several explanations for why it wasn't him. One, he apparently developed bronchitis during the initial recording sessions and it wrecked his voice for a while. However, the studio also thought his take on the Joker was too scary. There was also some concern that the voice he was using was too close to his voice of Hook from Peter Pan and the Pirates and Conk in the cartoon everyone remembers, Pirates of Dark Water.
Oh, yeah, when my conch die, everybody cried.
Now, Mark Hamill says the voice of the Joker is a mix of Claude Rains, Jay Leno, Pee Wee Herman, and the head blue meanie from Yellow Submarine. And if you think about it, I can hear every one of those. He got the laugh, he said he credited from the one he developed playing Salieri on Broadway in Amadeus. We had the voice cast in this is amazing, and this is just the regular characters. We had the great Brock Peters as Lucius Fox, the singer Paul Williams as the Penguin, nails it. Adrienne Barbeau, best known mostly as sort of the sex pot from the 70s and 80s movies, as Catwoman. Richard Mall, from Night Court, as Two-Face. Ed Asner for Roland Daggett. John Glover again as the Riddler. Michael, this is who also played Kang. Michael Ansara as Mr. Freeze. He played Kang, excuse me.
Yes.
David Warner as Ra's al Ghul. And even Adam West shows up as a character called the Grey Ghost, who was supposed to be one of Bruce's inspirations. Like I said, there was a lot of meddling. It was Fox, initially, who wanted a lot more focus on Robin. Season 3 became The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Boo.
This fed very nicely into the movie. This is the only theatrical release. There were several other, like, straight-to-video movies based on this Batman. But Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is very loosely based on both Batman Year 1 and Batman Year 2. There's a plot in Batman Year 2. It's very, very similar to the Phantasm, except it has a character called the Reaper instead of the Phantasm. And this also led into another one, Batman Beyond. Talk about a little. Did you watch this show?
I did. I think everybody did. This was like a kid show that's not a kid. I mean,
it's kind of a kid show, but it's also...
It's when you get a group of people in the creative roles, not necessarily just the actors, but the people behind the scenes, producers, directors, etc. Paul Dini's like kind of the big name, that obviously love the subject matter, and they manage to make something despite the people that are paying them. And I think that's what happened here. And their take on Batman is so much better than Tim Burton's. Yes, it is still brightly colored. Yes, it uses the same theme song. Yes, the design doesn't make sense in the real world. It's a cartoon. Who cares?
Sure.
But there's some stunning depth in this series. Strangely, the only thing I have not seen, I have never seen Mask of the Phantasm. I don't know why. I just never have.
It's remarkable. It's really good. It's also, it's more adult. I mean, people actually die in it. Nobody dies or almost nobody dies in the animated series.
But like, I remember them actually doing some depth on Clayface, for example. Like, he becomes a way more interesting character than he was previous to this.
The Mad Hatter, who was just a goofy character, they make him kind of tragic. And he's voiced, by the way, by Roddy McDowall.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And he just talks about Batman ruined his life, and it's...
Of course, Roddy McDowall was the bookworm.
Yep.
It was one of those things where you would come home if you were in college or from your job, and you would watch it. You would catch up on this, and I watched all of them. I actually have it all on Blu-ray. I haven't gone back and rewatched it. Sadly, the thing that to me does not hold up with this series is the literal animation. The actual movement is not very good.
No, the movement animation is not great. The visual designs are terrific.
Yeah.
Up until, I think it's the last season, when they did a really radical redesign of a lot of the characters, especially the Joker and Catwoman, and they just look weird.
Yeah. And let's face it, Kevin Conroy would carry Batman for, he's still showing up once in a while, still doing it in video games and stuff. Kevin Conroy, and I know Matt Reisman said this, but for me, orally, he's kind of my Batman.
Yeah.
Like, that voice is just great.
It nails it. And the fact that he has a different voice for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it's just lighter and, more casual. But he can really get that. You see, if he does that, I'm Batman, which he doesn't, you would be afraid. You believe that criminals would be afraid of this guy.
Well, and he has this kind of quiet strength. Like, he doesn't need to overdo it. And, if you compared, this is a weird comparison, but if you compared Christian Bale's, which we'll get to in a minute, to Kevin Conroy's, I kind of prefer Kevin Conroy's because there is a strength without having to force it. We do occasionally delve into Batman's past. His origin is told more than once.
Yes, but they handle really well.
Yeah.
One of the best episodes, I don't want to start doing this was a great episode, that was a great episode, but one of the best is the Mad Hatter basically puts him in a trance and lets him live out his ideal world. In this world, his parents never died. He's engaged to Selena Kyle. He's happy. And it's heartbreaking because he's like, this is wrong. I'm not supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
And he eventually figures his way out. This is also a big part of Mask of the Phantasm. It takes place in the first year or two of him being Batman. Also, by the way, the voice of Alfred was Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And he's really good in Phantasm when Bruce comes out and he's wearing the Batman outfit for the first time, and he just looks at him and goes, "My God." He's actually afraid, not of the mask. So I read a comment about this once. That he's terrified by what he has seen Bruce turn into now.
Yeah.
And Bruce has found this darkness inside himself, and he's put it on the outside. But in this movie, in Phantasm, he falls in love. And he's ready to give up being Batman. And he asks his parents to forgive him. He says, I can't do it. I never thought I'd actually be happy. And if I have to choose between love and Batman, I'm going to choose love. And then, of course, the woman leaves.
Oh, I thought she died because somebody killed her. But
no, she disappears. Yeah, and I won't say anything else because it gives away some stuff. Again, Mark Hamill is in it as the Joker, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill's...
He would have a second career, basically, by doing voiceover. And this is his biggest role.
This is not just his biggest role. This is his breakout role as a voice actor. He was doing bits and pieces here and there. He had a pretty bad movie career in the 80s and early 90s. This turned him into the titan of voice acting that he is now.
Yeah. I don't think he has nearly as good a range as some other people.
No, probably
like
not.
His characters tend to sound a little...
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to say... But his Joker is so iconic. Him and Kevin Conroy, really, those two...
Yep.
That's the whole series right there. And it's not that other people don't do a good job, but their takes are so fresh and so full of depth that you would... And Harley, the woman who does Harley Quinn too. I want to say, because I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of Harley Quinn as a character, but the fact that she was a throwaway character and became this thing all on her own because of this show says a lot, not only about her performance, but about the people who made this show.
Yeah. Yeah, she really comes... and the friendship she has with Poison Ivy. And Poison Ivy, like, they give her more depth. It's like, she's not just some crazy woman. She's an eco-terrorist.
Right.
She believes that plants need to take over the world again.
Well, and that's when Batman's quote-unquote villains are the most interesting, is when they're not really villains. They've actually got both a good idea and they have their heart in the right place. It's just the way they're doing it is hurting people.
Or they're just so badly damaged that the world's hurt them so much they want to hurt it back. This is, if we have to add, this is one of my favorite interpretations of Batman. I think it's one of the ones that works the best.
It keeps the character firmly in the comic book type world, but it gives it enough depth and gravitas that it achieves a realness that the movies almost never do. Like, you buy it. Whereas when you think about it, you look at Michael Keaton, you go, really? This guy goes out and fights crime? Really? Bang. Okay. I don't, And again, I don't think that the animation lives up. I think the animation is actually pretty crude, which is a budgetary thing. But we come back to this over and over again. All the budget in the world is not going to help you tell a better story.
Yeah.
If you've got a good story, that's what's going to matter. And that's why people still remember this version of Batman, because it was so well told. Not every episode is a gem.
No, they aren't all winners.
But what they were doing for a quote-unquote kids cartoon, not only does it reference its original material, it really kind of exalts in it. And it takes it to a new place without removing itself from that material. And so I think this, in a lot of ways, does reflect both of the times. It also reflects the tastes of the fandom, which has not been reflected, really.
Yeah.
It also points to the fact, remember I talked about this back in 43, 49 Batman. The audience for Batman was originally supposed to be kids.
Yeah, like 10 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah. And up through the 60s and 70s, that's the way it stayed. And then somehow in the 60s and 70s, what happened was the people who were reading comics when they were 10 and 12 just kept reading them. And they were now in their 40s and 50s. And they were a very large chunk of the audience for Batman amongst other comic book characters. And I think the first time we're actually seeing this in a way addressed is Batman the Animated Series. That's my feeling.
Yeah, no, I think that works. A lot of the themes are more mature. They're still dealt with. There's a kind of childish simplicity to some of it. Except, again, the Joker is just evil. He's just terrible. But there are some who are kind of, like Mr. Freeze, the comparison between him and Arnold Schwarzenegger's version. The one in Batman the Animated Series, Mr. Freeze is tragic. All he wants is to restore his wife, but he's this... He wonders sometimes if he's still human, if he's still capable of love. He explores some pretty deep stuff.
Yeah. This is we've said this before in a lot of films when we talk about how when you're writing for kids, that doesn't mean you get to write badly or you shouldn't respect your audience. Yes, these are ostensibly for kids. I'm sure that people like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini understood there's going to be adults watching this too. And that means that you should keep your writing good and crisp, and it worked. So
it really did. So we move back to the live action screen.
Yeah. So now, speaking of Batman being dark and brooding, we start with Batman Begins, which you may remember wasn't all that long ago.
Yeah.
For the poll question, we have two people for this one. Jamie Kleinert is back with one more insight.
Poll question.
Quote, Bale brought out the melancholy and angst of the character's past. They would be my runner-up. End quote. Good call all around. Thanks, Jamie. A second vote for this movie comes from Adam Mark. Quote, The Dark Knight, which to be fair is the next one.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's performance, I don't know why I put this here. This actually goes with, I'll read it now. I've started reading it, but anyway. The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's performance is one for the ages, so truly sinister it lingers with you. I also enjoy how the story is laid out almost as a fable of good versus evil, and to what lengths one should not go to thwart evil. A lot of moral quandaries, the fairies of innocents and convicts, Batman taking the fall for the Joker, etc., which are not too heavy-handed. A masterpiece that really transcends the superhero genre. It should have won the 2009 Oscars Best Picture, but Slumdog Millionaire won. But I'd wager a few have thought much of that since then. End quote. Those are all good points, Adam, and I'm sorry I put that with Batman Begins, but oh well.
That's all right. We've already done The Dark Knight. See our episode on The Dark Knight.
Right. Real quick trivia for Dark Knight. Budget, $150 million. Take, $373. So a success.
Wait, was this Dark Knight or Batman Begins?
Batman Begins.
Okay.
So only sort of a success, as these days you're supposed to make back three times the budget. For whatever reason, though he performed most of his own stunts, actor Christian Bale was not allowed even close to the Batmobile. Don't know.
Well, that thing looks like military hardware, so probably you're not allowed to drive it.
This I found really interesting. This movie, with its much darker tone, was what convinced the producers of the James Bond franchise to reboot it in a much darker, less silly way.
Huh.
Good.
Yeah. Nice job, boys.
Who chose Christian Bale? Christian Bale himself. After reading the short graphic novel Arkham Asylum, the actor told his agent that as anyone was making a new Batman movie, he wanted in. I found that surprising, too.
Yeah.
Considering the first time I saw him, he was a kid in a Shakespeare film, but there you go. Of course, he is later carrying the banner. But
yeah.
The script was sent out to prospective actors such as Michael Caine with no mention of Batman about it. Caine thought he was signing on to some kind of gangster picture. You know, as I sometimes do.
Right.
Second go-around for Tom Cruise's go-arounds. Katie Holmes is the second ex of Mr. Top Gun to play a Batman love interest. Nicole Kidman was the first. No jumping up and down on the sofa this time. This is the second time David Duchovny was considered for the role of Batman. The last was in Batman and Robin.
I will be portraying the sleepy-voiced Batman.
Actually, my line was, luckily for all involved, the sleepy-eyed actor was not chosen. And more. The plot. This is much darker. No, really, this time it is. Take on the origin of Batman. Bruce Wayne, haunted by the death of his parents, seeks the skills needed to become vengeance in the night. He goes to great lengths to learn martial skills and spends huge amounts of his family fortune to build the arsenal he'll need against the evil underworld of Gotham City. But with the rise of superhero comes the rise of an equally super villain. Or is it two villains? Watch and see.
The film.
So as Max pointed out, we've done... Did we do Batman Begins before?
No. We just did The Dark Knight.
You saw this when it came out, I'm sure.
I did, and I've seen it since.
And what did you think?
It's funny. Some of it I really liked. And some of it I felt like, oh, so close.
Okay, so what parts did you think were so close?
Mostly the ending. The story just got more and more absurd. Like, okay, you're going to use the Scarecrow's fear gas with this magic weapon that vaporizes water, and it's going to make all the pipe... What? It's like, this seems needlessly complicated. Why not just blow things up?
I will say the Scarecrow is a villain I've never really considered, and the way he's portrayed in this is pretty frickin' scary.
It is. Again, Batman the Animated Series, their version of the Scarecrow... they do two different visual styles of him. The second one is friggin' terrifying. He's got a noose around his neck. He's carrying a scythe that's really disturbing. It has too many villains, again. It makes it choppy. And I know they try to string them together. It feels very forced. There were also a couple of points where I'm going, all right, you're trying to shoehorn in stuff from Batman Year One.
Yeah.
The bit where he summons, I'll call my batty friends, which in the comic book worked really well. It was really interesting. In this, it's like, okay, this was utterly unnecessary. It was just felt like fan service.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't feel the whole thing held together as well. I liked a lot of it, but overall, I don't think it held together as well as, spoiler, The Dark Knight does.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I will say, filmically, as this is the first time around, we get some series-shattering performances as characters in this.
Oh, yeah.
Not least of which is Lucius Fox, because this is a character I didn't know anything about. Yeah, Morgan. I mean, I like Morgan Freeman in anything. Let's just face it. But we get some of the bit players. Tom Wilkinson. I mostly know Tom Wilkinson from The Full Monty, and he's playing Boss Falcone. Yep. And he does a great gangster. He does great. We've got, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Cillian Murphy as Dr. Jonathan Crane.
Yep.
Even Rutger Hauer, who's in a tiny little role, has got that sense of weight, like that "don't mess with me" weight that you're like, yeah, maybe
There's a lot of gravitas in this movie, and Michael Caine is great as Alfred. I think he's a terrific choice.
Yeah, I like him as well.
Christian Bale, when he says "I'm Batman," it's like, okay, I completely believe that Falcone just wet himself.
Ken Watanabe. I like Ken Watanabe in almost anything, too.
Yeah, but he does almost nothing.
Liam Neeson. I think he does a really good, calm, laid-back performance. And to be fair, the first time I saw this, I didn't see the big twist coming.
I didn't either. I thought that was really interesting.
And one of my favorite actors of all time is in this, in a role where he melts again into the role. He's not in any way trying to compete with anybody. He is being this character, and he is Jim Gordon. And for my money, he's my favorite Jim Gordon ever.
That's right. That's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Who is, that is one of those parts where you go, that was Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to make things work. He's he's a cop who's just like, he isn't Commissioner Gordon yet. He's just a cop.
I think he's Captain Gordon. Or no, he's lieutenant. He's lieutenant in this one. He doesn't make captain.
Yeah, and he's just trying to, make do for his family, and he's trying his best on the streets of what is pretty much a city that I don't know why anybody would live in it. Yeah. Especially the Narrows.
Hey, like the Joker says, be decent people shouldn't live in Gotham City.
Yeah, but this time they really mean it.
Unfortunately, there's one exception, and it's kind of glaring, and that is, it's Katie Holmes.
Yeah.
And part of this is just, you put Katie Holmes in with these people, she is going to get blown off the screen, which is what happens. I was really glad when they replaced her in the next one with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who is a much better actor.
Yeah. I would rather have seen somebody along the lines of Michelle Pfeiffer, because she could have handled it.
She could have done it. A lot of other people could have. No offense to Katie Holmes. I'm sure she does very well in Dawson's Creek or whatever else she's done. She does not have gravitas. She does not have the weight, and it's not just because she weighs 11 pounds. She does not have the character to stand up against with these people. It just doesn't work, and it stands out because everyone else is amazing.
Yeah, and I will have to say, you want your dark and gritty? Here's your dark and gritty.
Oh boy, very dark, very gritty. Gotham City, the city where the sun never shines.
It's ugly. Even the crime bosses are good enough villains for Batman in this, and they actually make a lot more sense because they're not over the top. They're not keeping themselves alive with cool lasers or any. They
don't have superpowers.
We're much closer to quote unquote reality. It's still not believable, but it feels a lot more likely. I guess is that a good word? Yeah. And I think this film also really made people sit up and take notice and say, maybe there is something to this superhero genre that maybe could be explored and doesn't have to be pow, zip, bang like that. I remember liking it when it came out. I do think Max is correct. It's a little long, I think there's too many villains. I would rather have just stuck with the Scarecrow because, quite honestly, he works great. The visuals for him, the way his gas work, the fact that Batman is not immune to this, and what he sees, stuff's scary.
Yeah.
And it should be.
I also like the way Batman looks to the Scarecrow when the Scarecrow's under the effects.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, he's a little more demonic, but mainly he's just scary. I buy that.
Yeah. We do some diving into the character of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's done, I think, fairly well. We see the origin, whatever. But I think also at this point, people were kind of tired of the whole thing, thinking they've seen everything. And Chris Nolan, say what you will, basically said, no, you ain't seen nothing yet. And to be fair, we haven't, because this film is not the strongest of the three.
No.
Does it reflect the times? I'm going to say no, but it's gonna, so? Which is sad.
Yeah.
Things are going to get ugly, folks. Of course, you already know that. I think the level of crime as depicted in Batman films always tends to be a bit higher than it possibly could be, because I think that people would leave. Like, I forget.
Or they would declare martial law or something.
Or something.
Or the criminals would just be running everything.
Yeah, and who says? Or they'd be quiet about it, though.
They would do it behind. They would do it behind the scenes more.
Right, which they probably. Oh,
which they definitely aren't doing now here.
Oh yeah, and listening to our podcast.
Listening to everything.
Second favorite take of the Batmobile. It doesn't make any sense. You can't see anything in it. I actually saw Jay Leno had it show up on his YouTube channel, and he got to drive around in it. There's nothing behind you. You can't see anything. It's fully functional.
You don't care. You don't care. What you hit something, you won't know.
Yeah, it is very reminiscent of the Batmobile from Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the comic.
Which is a tank.
I remember this one point where he's in it, and he says, "Oh, Robin, it's so cute. You called this the Batmobile." And the only reason that part of dialogue's in there is because you would have no idea what it was talking about otherwise. But it's kind of this.
Yeah.
I think it made people sit up and take notice. And I think so. Not only did they take notice there, but that's when they started paying more attention to what was going on in the comics again. And people were like, yeah, this is what we wanted in the first place. Duh. And those 30 and 40-year-olds that had been reading Batman for the last 30 and 40 years were now getting what they wanted.
Yep, absolutely.
So much so that we got another film after this called The Dark Knight.
Oy.
Have you heard this? Yeah, no, we've done this. I still have some trivia and a plot, but we'll go through this one quickly as well.
Yeah.
Budget 185 million. That's some money.
That's a lot of money.
Do you remember? Because this was a big deal.
I think it made $1 billion.
It did. Made $1 billion.
Wow. Good Lord. $1 billion.
And one of the reasons I want to do the trivia is because some stuff in here that I do definitely want to touch on, because this is a hard film. Sure. Apparently, Heath Ledger was so frightening that when he and Kane performed their first scene together, Kane momentarily forgot his lines.
Wow.
This is Michael Caine, who's been in 800,000 films.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things I specifically wanted to touch on. The legends of the role of the Joker taking its toll were, according to Ledger's own family, not true. Oh. A lifelong sufferer of insomnia, he often took prescription drugs to get to sleep, sometimes mixing them with other things. This was something his own sister warned him against before and the night before he died. Mm. Also, some stuff I didn't throw in here, but I kept reading people who were on the set said Ledger loved playing this part. He was not down and depressed and all like uptight and crazy or anything. They were like, no, he was really enjoying it. Did you miss it? The word Batman does not appear in the title of this film. That's the first time that's happened, but it will not be the last. Just like last movie, Christian Bale was never allowed on the Bat Pod, this time for good reason. Extra good reason. It was highly dangerous and only a stunt person could handle it, and even then...
I believe it.
Yeah. Codenames for this movie were, during filming, Rory's First Kiss, which was named after Chris Nolan's son, and Oliver's Army when being delivered to theaters.
Huh. From the Elvis Costello song.
Sure. Famous quote, "The night is darkest just before the dawn," actually comes from an episode of the 1966 TV show.
Oh, dear. Of course it does.
This film has received the most Oscar nominations for any comic book related film. The record stands at 8.
Wait.
But moving on, there's lots more show to come. Hoo boy, this is it. This is the one. The Joker is a mysterious, deadly, horrific figure that seems to come out of the underbelly of Gotham itself. And if that weren't bad enough, its public knight, Harvey Dent, is brought down and made a twin horror that only the Batman can face. But he does so alone, now feared by those he seeks to protect. How can this possibly come out well for the Caped Crusader? Spoiler, it can't.
The film.
We saw this when it came out. We were both blown away. We did a whole episode on this, but just to touch on it, there had never been a take on the Joker like this.
No.
We do not know his origin, and I'm going to go out and say, and he's a stronger character for it.
I love the fact that every time, did I ever tell you how I got these scars? The story changes every time. And and yet he tells it with the same conviction every time. Like in that moment he believes it.
Yeah.
So we don't know. We don't know what happened to him.
I also like the fact that the Joker is not in any way physically imposing.
No.
And yet, and this is that gravitas that Max and I talk about, there is no doubt in my mind that if I had been near anybody like that, my chances of coming out of that weren't even going to be 50-50, even if I didn't talk to him.
Yeah, it wasn't the sense of like raw power. It was the sheer unpredictability that you had no idea what he would do or when he would do it.
No. And where he was coming from, you didn't understand. And you couldn't. There's no way the audience could understand this character. But you still believed there was something in there. And it was really, really dark, and it was really unpleasant.
Yeah. I will say the one weakness of this movie you have just demonstrated. The Joker is way more interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Batman in this movie, and we're supposed to be talking about Batman.
Yep.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He does a nice job. He's, as is often the case, the hero is less interesting. They try a few times. I like the little bits like when he rams. There's the guy the Joker wants the police to kill, or he'll blow up a hospital. Mm-hmm. And Bruce Wayne rams his car into a would-be assassin, and Gordon is saying, "Didn't you hear about the hospitals?" And he's like, "Why, do you think I should go to one?" And it's just, okay, yeah, it's very convincing, this whole like, oh yeah, I'm just out of it, I'm just interested in my own stuff, I don't know anything about what's going on in current events.
Yeah. And and I think we're going to get to that when we do our little wrap-up about Batman as a character. But yeah, and here's the other thing is we get Harvey Dent, and they actually make Harvey Dent an interesting character.
They do.
Never mind that, but the relationship between Batman and Harvey Dent. Because we see a point where, and this is one of the interesting points about Bruce Wayne Batman in this film, is he's getting to a point where he's like, yeah, I've been doing this, I kind of want to stop. Oh, here's a guy.
Yeah,
this guy he's got it. He knows what to do. People like him. Cool. I can back him. Maybe I work a little in the background on weekends, but Harvey Dent's going to be the guy to clean up Gotham. That's the way it should be. Awesome. And then it isn't.
Yeah. And as he says, look, I can give it up. I can marry Rachel. And, and then it's just heartbreaking because she chose Harvey. And
yeah. And then, of course,
blows up.
And then Harvey is, and Harvey going over the edge is, I'm not sure if I totally buy it.
Yeah.
I think that if it's the Joker doing the pushing, okay, yeah, probably.
Yeah. The Joker's remarkably convincing because you're going, wow, in 2 minutes he convinces Harvey to turn on everything he believed in, and you go, yeah, I buy it.
Yeah, it was a little quick, but the film's already really long. The film, actually, each one of these films is literally 20 minutes longer than the one before it. So the first one was 2 hours and 10. This one's like 2:30, and the next one's 2:50. So yeah, but the performances all around are great. It feels like whenever Batman would get dark and gritty in the comics, it never got this dark. So I think the film...
That's not true.
Really?
Joker beating Tim Drake to death with a crowbar?
I think even still, this Joker, I would say, is darker and crazier than that Joker.
With a killing joke?
The Killing Joke is mostly a little one-act play with Batman and Joker.
Yeah, but that's a really dark, nasty version of the Joker.
I
Pretty
think
terrible.
the reason I'd say this is darker is we still have absolutely no idea where he's coming from or where he's going.
Yeah, that's true. He's more like a force of nature.
And that point where he's standing in the tunnel, come on, I'm standing here, you're on your little bat motorcycle, what are you going to do?
Yeah, he's saying, shoot me, come on, take me out, kill me.
And Batman can't do it because that's the character, which is fine. But there is not a sense you get that he's going to move.
No.
Joker's just going to stand there. And even if he got hit, he would still do something. I don't know what it would be, but he's already thought of that. That's the other problem, is not only is he really dark and crazy, he's smart.
Yeah, he's incredibly smart.
So, yeah, I see why it made $1 billion. In a way, it's kind of sad because it's so dark, but... Well, that's all the Batman we have for this week, but tune in next week for the final wrap-up of episode 200 of Max Mike Movies, The Batman.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.